Chester, where we have some people on the roof of that gun store. Our camera will just stay tuned, folks. They're getting in a connection. There are two people on top of what we believe is a gun store, and it appears police are making the arrest. One man has his hands up, the other's putting his hands behind his head. This is where a gun store in the 6900 block of Winchester. You're watching this live, folks, as it happens. Remember, we told you police got the alarm. They thought there were two suspects armed in that gun store. They surrounded it, and we had heard that they'd come in through the roof. It appears they're back on the roof. It appears there is an arrest about to happen. There are two young men standing on the roof of that shopping center where the gun store is on Winchester Avenue with their hands on their heads and behind on their neck. We're getting our camera in place for the best shot for you. Stand by for this for just a moment, folks. There we are live again. We've got that shot again. Again, we see two young men on the roof of a building there at Winchester where we got the alarm and heard that two armed burglars were in a gun store there. I don't know if Jeremy Pierre is listening or if he's able to talk to us at all about what's happening. Jeremy, are you, any chance you're able to speak to me right now and tell me what you're seeing? He's not.
Val.
Okay, Jeremy.
I am.
Yes. Do we believe these are the suspects?
You say what, Val?
Well, tell me what's happening.
Well, look, I just so happened to be sitting in the car texting one of my sources, and I saw a black shirt moving. I thought it was a police officer of some sort. And then I saw a white shirt, and it looks as though they were trying to jump down from the building. And next thing you know, I called our photojournalist over, Cynthia Perkins, and said, hey, somebody's on that roof. And basically, we started to zoom in, and you know what they say, four eyes are better than two. So I zoomed in and basically saw them putting their hands on top of their heads. And I believe one of them just got to the ground of some sort. Mm-hmm. So this is what police were running to. There's possibly some stairs. I see some stairs over there behind that building. You see that?
No.
But let's just keep the camera on them. But this is truly something that's been developing all morning, because I saw one of them climb up, and it was wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, that's Jeremy Pierre out on Winchester Road, the 6900 block, where you can see, now we see one young man standing up with his hands on his head. We saw another young man in a white T-shirt just get down, and we believe he was either laying down on the ground and Jeremy was trying to, okay, we see him standing up again, and he had something in his hands and just dropped that. But we're believing this might be where they got into that gun store. Jeremy, I know you're still watching this, because we had heard that they got in through the roof, right?
Yes, that's what my source told me. Basically, it looks as though he's getting out of his clothes of some sort.
He may be climbing back down a ladder to go back in the gun store, perhaps?
In the gun store, yeah, maybe so. But a source told me, Val, earlier this morning, you see, they're getting on the ground. A source told me this morning, basically, two of them, the two that you're looking at right now, basically cut a hole in the roof and got into the gun store.
So, folks, if you're just joining us, this is a live situation you're watching right now live. We got a call, and police surrounded a gun store in the 6900 block of Winchester. It looks like he's going down a ladder right now, maybe going back in the gun store. There were two armed suspects, police said, in that gun store. They surrounded it and blocked off the road on Winchester near Riverdale. A few moments ago, we saw two young men stand up on the roof and then put their hands behind their head. Now it appears they've gone back down a ladder. That's what it kind of looks like. Maybe back into the gun store. Jeremy?
Yeah, it looks as though they went back into the gun store. I don't know why, but it's my thought that there are officers on that roof. We're seeing now a drone in the area. I don't know if that's MPD or someone else that's getting video footage of this ordeal, because that's probably the way MPD is getting some views of that roof area. There they go. They're back on the roof. Is that police? That's police.
So now we see police on the roof.
They're making an arrest right now. They're making an arrest right now, Val. I believe.
Let's watch what's happening, folks. And again, if you're watching, this is happening live, and you're watching this go down on Winchester Road near Riverdale, where they have blocked off at least a block or two from traffic as police surrounded this gun store in the 6900 block of Winchester Avenue after they got an alarm and learned that there might be two armed suspects inside, maybe trying to steal a bunch of guns. A moment ago, we saw two young men standing on the roof of that store. Now we see a second police officer on the roof of the store on Winchester walking over. But Jeremy, your vantage point, I probably can see it better than you can, because for me it's close up with your camera. We saw what appeared to be those young men going down the ladder, maybe back into the store. As you're looking at the whole area, are you seeing any other signs of urgency, other officers maybe running towards that building?
Well, I see officers on top of that building for sure. And matter of fact, you see where that air conditioner, that's probably how they got in right there. They probably removed that unit right there that was basically bolted to the roof. And that's possibly how they got in. And they went back into the store and... Yep, see, they went back into the store because those officers are pointing, and they're probably just going to continue to trap them inside of that store. Now, what's really crazy is that if you ever been inside of a gun store, you know there's tons of ammunition, lots of guns inside of there, like semi-automatic handguns, revolvers, rifles, including AK-47s, AR-15s. Those guns, those type of guns, and I got this information from Benny Cobb, are capable of firing long ranges over a mile. So,
I tell you what, Jeremy,
obviously,
go ahead.
Obviously, we're going to try to stay safe as possible, but this is a very dangerous situation because.
That it is, and I tell
they're
you what,
in the store with a lot of guns,
with a lot of weapons, and we're gonna wrap up for a moment, come back live to this, and get our commercial breaks in. So, Jeremy, get a little information, and so will I, folks. We'll be right back. Yeah, and let's take you right there right now. We just watched two young men appear to surrender to police, hands on their head, climb back down into that gun store on Winchester Road. We had heard that they broke in through the roof, tried to escape from the roof, and they got nowhere.
Yeah, this happening near Riverdale, and Fox 13's Jeremy Pierre is there live. And JP, we hear about some of these bad guys breaking into stores, stealing cigarettes. That's one thing, but breaking into a gun shop, that paints a whole different picture.
Man, a big different picture. Let me tell you, we just saw at least 3 ATF agents pull up to the scene. So that's federal. So you know it's a big deal now. Take a look here. And what I think police are doing, we saw those grown men on top of the building, and now we see those officers basically monitoring the hole that they actually climbed back down into to get back into the store. What I think is going on here is that they're trying to make sure they don't come back up again and eventually go in on them in that store, basically closing in on them. And I just got to confirm that that is MPD flying that drone. They're just basically getting an overhead view of this store here on Winchester, 6920 Winchester Road. So right now the situation here is very calm but intense. Calm but intense. And when I say calm, there's not a lot of movement going on right now, but intense because we see a lot of the top guns here from MPD, and I just mentioned ATF. So basically we're working to find out or see what the next move is going to be out here. So Val, Ernie?
Jeremy, we mentioned that we think they might have been surrendering when we saw them on the rooftop with their hands up. So now we think that they're back inside the store?
Yes. Most definitely. Obviously, you see where those officers are walking on the roof? That's actually where those grown men happen to be. And by now, we would have saw him in some handcuffs, obviously, or bringing them down. It's going to be real interesting if they did, however, surrender on top of that roof, how they were going to get them down, because I don't see any type of apparatus here that could possibly help police get 2 grown men down in handcuffs. Obviously, they're not going to have their hands free when they bring them down. So we do see Memphis fire here on the scene, and that's possibly a way that they would have got them down. But it is my thought and my belief that they are definitely back inside of that store with all those weapons inside.
Let's get an idea of the manpower, the number of officers that were surrounding that store. We see a few on the fringes where you are, but it's got to be several. And did they call in the TAC team to surround that store?
I believe that they did call a TAC team, because the TAC team is over that drone to get an aerial view of basically where these suspects are, how they got in, how they possibly can get out. I do see several doors surrounding this gun store, 2 on the back. And I have been in this gun store before. There are 2 doors in the front. It's a very big gun store, basically with a lot of space. A lot of space. It's right next door to Aspire Middle School, also Privé, for those of you who know the area. So it's a lot of entries and exits if you wanted to force your way out.
Yeah, and let's talk about the firepower that they have inside that store. I mean, goodness, I'm looking at their website. If they got their hands on those weapons and got them on the streets, man, we'd be in trouble.
Girl, Val, yes, they do. They do. I mean, handguns, revolvers, rifles, AK-47s, AR-15s, and a lot of those guns are capable of firing long ranges. So that's the reason why police have us so far back. And I don't even think this is far enough. Because some of those bullets can travel over a mile.
Yeah,
depending on what kind of firepower you're talking about. If you do you get the sense, JP, that with the officers just sort of standing around, that they've contained the situation, the danger is over, and they're just trying to figure out how to get these guys in a cruiser and wherever they're taking them?
Exactly. And that's why I said it's calm but intense. Because if they were not in custody, I don't think those officers would just be up there all calm or whatnot. But the situation is still intense. So it's my belief that they possibly have them in custody in the store. We don't have that confirmed just yet. I do have a source that told me that they are in custody, but we're waiting to hear that officially from the Memphis Police Department. So, Ernie, I think you hit the hammer on the nail, because, yes, calm but intense.
Yeah, and that's good news, because you haven't heard any shots fired even prior to them going on the roof, and this could have been much, much worse with access to all the ammo and weapons inside that gun store. Plus, the reports we heard is that they were 2 armed suspects inside that store. So,
Right. But, Val, I want to remind you, all the ammunition and guns inside of that store still couldn't compete with all the officers and agents that are actually outside of the store.
So we know we've got Memphis Police, we've got alcohol, tobacco, firearms agents, and that SWAT team or the TAC unit. And if I'm not mistaken, that's both Shelby County and Memphis, right? Yeah,
but, you know, the danger to the citizens of this community is that they get all these guns like you were mentioning, and they successfully do this heist, and those guns are then on the street.
Sure.
Not about what they can do against the officers that are there. I'm sure they'll be fine. Hopefully they get that resolved.
I'm seeing some movement. I just saw a police car leave, and I just saw another vehicle move. So I tell you what, let's do. Let's give Jeremy a chance to ask a few questions, and we'll come back to him and see what he's finding out there. But, man, we watched this go down live on the air here on Fox 13's Good Morning Memphis. 2 suspects break into a gun store. We heard they broke in through the roof. We're watching as they come back on that roof. We watch as they put their hands behind their head and seem to surrender, maybe go back down into the building. You watch it happen right here on Good Morning Memphis.